I think, first of all, we need to acknowledge we do have some real differences. And I'll give you one big one, and that's church-state issues. And there's for some of us, to receive federal money for church ministry is a real problem. It's a theological problem for some of us. And so how do we talk about a partnership between church and state, between Christians and people of other faith or people of no faith? How do we talk about a partnership model in addressing justice issues without violating what we believe is a historic American principle of separation of church and state? That's a real concern. I think, frankly, the poverty issue can be politically hijacked, just like any other issue. And part of what needs to happen among the Christian community, even I think among the faith community, is we've got to build stronger relationships where we work really on a bipartisan basis. And if I might just throw a kudo here, I think this is one reason an organization like Bread for the World is so very important, is because they have a proven track record of addressing poverty from a bipartisan, and therefore they can bring us together across our differences. Very crucial.
You know, I think the problem is not so much evangelical involvement in social action and in community work. I think the problem is this joint endeavor, this coming together to pursue mutual goals and objectives that we cannot accomplish as effectively separately. And because we do work apart and all work on our own agendas, it's rather difficult to look up from them and, number one, come into relationship with other individuals, and then to join hands with them in joint action toward meaningful goals.
When was the last time, not specifically you four, but when was the last time something like this occurred where you got together with other evangelical leaders, other leaders of major churches, major efforts, got together and had a conversation like this about how you move forward? I mean, has it ever happened? I mean,
yes.
It's just been a long time.
No, those conversations are going on. They've been going on for a long time, but in more recent times, the emergence of Christian churches together, I mean, I think the National Council of Churches has sought to bring Christians together from different perspectives, but it's hard work. It's hard work to be intentional and deliberate and to make long-term commitment to collaboration and communication and relationship building. That's hard work.
The unfortunate thing in my experience has been that it's usually around a crisis or a tragedy or an emergency, or it's around an agenda of one of the entities that convene us rather than agenda that relates to all of us. And it is certainly not about coming together to decide together what the best pathway that we should follow should be. And I think that aspect of it certainly needs to be involved in our coming together. Number one, we need to come together to dialogue about the direction. What is it that we wish to accomplish? What is it that we mutually feel we should pursue? I think that's very important.
I figure we can tackle that in, the next 5 minutes or so. Ron, you come at this from the perspective of Salvation Army, just in case anyone didn't know. What's your take on this question of this dialogue and the involvement? I mean, because we might want to talk a little bit about just how the Army works and how the faith and the works sort of are so utterly intertwined.
Well, I'm certainly not as knowledgeable as these gentlemen about the coming together of the groups. In my experience, the groups have come together, but they've never talked about poverty. And it's almost like the political thing that, you don't talk about poverty because the American people don't want to hear about it. Well, all the churches, I think, are dealing with it, but they never come together and talk about it. And until recently, with the Christian churches together and National Association of Evangelicals now have a poverty agenda. And I think for the first time, they are sitting down at the table and trying to figure out which way to go.
At the end of the day, what is the one thing that you would want if you could someday sit before an audience of foundations, hypothetically? What's the
That'll never happen.
through prayer, anything is possible. But what is the one thing that you'd want them to know about the work that you're doing?
Well, I think in our area, even though, yes, on a national scale, there is maybe a lack of unity and lack of focus, there's some really effective work that's taking place. First of all, locally, our local church is just impacting thousands on a weekly basis. We reach out to a lot of other networks in our region. 4 counties, we're probably working with about 60, 70,000 individuals. So there's a lot of work taking place. It's also very effective. We train individuals of these various partner groups on how to facilitate group meetings in the area of community organizing. We trained them on how to build strategy and how to work with community and not focus just on doing good things for community. So there's a lot of great stuff going on. The impact is incredible. But the other thing is we're learning. And I think that's the one thing that you asked early on is what is the one thing you wouldn't share? I wouldn't share with foundation folks. We're still learning. We've made some major mistakes. A lot of our partners don't want to stop with the handouts, and they want to really focus on that. So there are a lot of people that still have to make that transition and that shift in their thinking. So yeah, I think that there's many within our circles that have been at it for many, many years, and we've learned how to really focus on outcomes, real results, and sustainable work.
Yeah.
Yankee fan?
No. Bishop, yeah.
We've recently been taking a real hard look at what we've been doing. We've been in this work for many, many years. And
How many?
how many? 1865.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah, that's a lot of years. And basically, it's still doing the same thing that we did in 1865. And we're taking a real close look at that. We helped 28 million people last year. Now, some people might pat us on the back, but I say that's horrible. You know, why do that many people need the Salvation Army? And we're taking a real hard look at how we approach this. We can't just help individuals and keep giving out Band-Aids. You know, we've got to take a look at asset development. You know, you can't get people out of poverty if they can't develop any assets and they can't accumulate assets. And so we're taking a real hard look at that. We're going to try to facilitate an asset-based community development in the United States in the very near future. We're formulating our teams right now. So that's what I think I'd like people to know.
Bishop Blake, you have what, 25,000 members, 80 programs domestically?
Yes, 80 programs that reach out to our community and to our people. And our CDC is doing a tremendous work. We've built more than 400 residences in our community for people who otherwise might not have adequate housing. We have mediation programs. We have employment programs. We have welfare to work programs. We have a host of programs that impact our community on the local church level. If I spoke to foundations and corporate leaders, I would probably ask for involvement, for their involvement in some of the programs that we are offering, for assistance in measuring the impact of what we're doing and how we could more effectively do the work that we do. I think that their skills and their insights, especially from corporations, would be as valuable, if not more valuable, than any funds that they might contribute to the programs that we offer. On the denominational level, I became presiding bishop less than a year ago. I was elected in November. And out of my background at the work that I've done at my local church and my own experience from the civil rights movement and activism and so on and so forth, from those days, I would really, again, want expertise and advice and involvement and the ability to measure and to put together something that there might not be denominational funds for us to put together when we're trying to coordinate 12,000 churches across the nation to do 12,000 programs in the inner city of our nation. I think that if done effectively, it could make a significant difference, and I would certainly